I have a global vision, and the vision is about stopping the blaming and shaming out there. And I call this the hashtag speaker locking arms. What is it in your vision that if you could say, I'm so tired of this and this happening, it hurts me, I can feel it, I want this change to happen. And maybe it's perhaps an experience that you had when you were younger and you're like, I am so tired of this and I see it all the time. I'm tired of feeling this way because I know that if I cleared it within myself, I know that that vision out there would help others because I know so many people that deal with this. Or maybe it's a current experience you're in and you're like, if that could change, how in the trajectory in this world could shift the energy, and we could be talking about more positive things because there's a lot of crap going on out there. This is about change, and this is about you. This is not just about me, but I'm going to share a bit about me before we get into what I love, this project that I've been working on. And it's a humanitarian project, but we have some lovely people here today that are part of my project, but they also have a project going on also. And so they are very strong, wonderful women that are out there, have their vision and their crusade and their humanitarian project. I mean, they're making shifts in this world and they see things happening. So welcome in. My name is Rhonda Liebig. I'm the host of Fresh Talks Global Vision. And again, hashtag speaker locking arms. This is about us aligning our vocals, really speaking authentically to ourselves. So what I want to challenge you on is to keep your growth going so you can feel the alignment. You can feel it at the edge of your hairs, like your hairs just stand up and you go, oh my goodness, I just need that taste of that every day. And I'd feel youthful. I'd feel energetic. I'd feel like my body's healing. I'm thinking about that. Body heal. That's what I think about every day. Come in. I have these wonderful people. I know Vesna Matic is going to be in here, and she actually is an interesting person on our board because she sent me a message and she said something, and I go, "Why don't I have this humanitarian project going?" Oh my gosh, Vesna, you are helping me see that you're already partnering with me, even though she was asking me for help. I'm like, I'm kind of asking you for help too, Vesna, because she's a great connector. So I love that she's here. Rachel Kalb is here also. Welcome in, Rachel Kalb. And we'll get to know more about you too, my friend. And then Sharon Dunlevy. Oh my goodness. I just love these women so much. Welcome in. Are you excited to talk about what this board is about and what you're up to? And what we're still trying to figure it out. I think we're like going towards our fourth board meeting or third. And we're like, okay, I think this is coming together, but we're here to support each other. And I call this Ignite Power Together board. So what do you ladies think? How are you feeling today?
I'm doing good.
Yeah,
thank
awesome.
you, Rhonda. Excited to be here.
Yeah.
Excited about this mission and to be locking arms with such incredibly powerful, empowering women making an impact on this planet.
Yeah. I feel that. And earlier I was saying I'm a very casual person, but casual can have its side of looking like you're not in a line, you're looking sloppy, like in the things you do. And I go, that's the side that I have to watch out for myself because it can show up like that. But I love being casual in the way, if we keep the flow going and don't get control and fight for the change to happen, then something special will happen. You'll start getting into alignment. And I think energy really attracts each other. I picked a card. This is out of my deck. And I'm like, am I battling today? Because I'm talking about, we're fighting something. And that I thought, well, you know what? I'm really not fighting. So the card that I got, I wanted to share. It's a few sentences here, but it says, enhance strong emotions. And I think we all feel emotions about what we're doing. And I bet you do out there too. So it says, do not fight against pain. Do not fight against irritation or jealousy. Embrace them with great tenderness as though you were embracing a little baby. Your anger is yourself, and you should not be vulnerable or violent toward it. The same thing goes for all of your emotions. So no battling. I love that. So I think of the heart center, and I think, how can we keep opening our heart and just cracking that beautiful shell that we're going to be cracking? And I believe we can quantum leap also. Okay, so let's get to know the board. I have a few questions for you too. Are you ready, ladies?
Sure.
Okay. I'll try not to be too giddy. That just is just crazy when I start doing that stuff. 'Cause I'll start laughing and stuff. And I'm serious today. Okay, so Sharon Dunlevy, foster care education advocate and trainer. I met Sharon and she was saying, "Hey, Rhonda, we need to get to talk." And I said, "Yeah, Sharon, we need to get to talk because there's things that we have been seeing each other doing stuff." And right away, I enjoyed her alignment and her intensity, but her intensity is with flow and passion. So it's very much in a line. So her vision, a future where every child is foster care is surrounded by knowledgeable, compassionate caregivers in a community committed to their healing, growth, and lifelong success. With over 750 foster parents trained, which she is doing, this is what she's working on, and more than 2,250 children's lives impacted, Sharon equips caregivers, educators, policymakers with the knowledge and tools to spark each change. Her mission, to support and equip foster parents with the tools, training, and guidance they need to confidently nurture, advocate for, and power the children in their care, creating safety, stable, and supportive homes where every child can thrive. Hashtag Fostering Dreams, Fostering Futures. Welcome in, Sharon. I love that.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Sharon, how does it feel to just kind of hear about the changes that you've made and what you're doing and stuff? When I'm talking about the 750 foster parents trained, 2,250 children's lives impacted.
Yeah, when I went to figure out those numbers, it was shocking to me. I mean, I've been doing this for a while, obviously, but only 7 years, and really only on my own for the last 3. Before that, I worked for a licensing agency in Indiana, but that I was under a grant. That grant ended, COVID hit, things changed, and so I decided to go out on my own. And then I picked up a training contract with the state of Ohio. I've done other trainings for other people, and I started adding up the numbers. I'm like, holy cow, that's a lot of foster parents.
I love that you're tracking the numbers too. Because
yeah, well, I was curious. It's like, yeah. So I did that, and I was like, oh wow. And then I started thinking about, when I said how many kids that are been affected, I basically just averaged that every foster parent that I train has affected 3 children. That's probably a low number because a lot of our foster parents have a lot more kids that come in and out of their homes. But, these foster parents, they're the front line, right? Like they're the ones that are taking care of the kids. The kids are in their homes. They're the ones that are talking to the schools and all of this. And so I wanted to train them in the best way to care for their kids. And I know there's a lot of negativity around foster care right now. We hear the horror stories. When I do podcasts and stuff, I always talk about the fact that anytime you hear about a foster kid, it's usually in the news and it'll be some crime has been committed. And then they'll say, and by the way, they were a foster kid. And that is not a good representation of who these children are. And so that's really what I'm trying to do, is not just train the parents to help these kids, but also bring awareness to this forgotten population. We don't talk about our foster kids enough. We know they exist, but we don't talk about them. And I can guarantee you foster kids and you don't know them, because they're not saying, hey, I'm a foster kid, right? They're just out there, but we don't talk about them. And so I really want us to be talking about them. And so that's really what I do, is I just bring that to light.
I love it. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, I not a foster kid, but growing up and struggling in some parts of my life, I really like that you actually are saying, let's empower these kids, and that this really is our future. Because when you break free from whatever you're working through as a foster kid, that's just a big rebound up if you have all that support. We need people that have, have these kind of backgrounds, so they have empathy and can really feel what's really, really out there. I think people are talking that haven't had a background like these foster kids, and people are trying to make decisions that haven't had that background. And you're working from two different mindsets. It's people that are judging and seeing the exterior and the stats. Instead, why don't we see the people for like authentic souls? Very young age where they flip and they can switch so easily. I always go to my kids and kind of like look at them because they're young. When our kids are young, they can really feel when you're off track, and you can feel the energy. It's like they know so much. So Rachel, I'm getting ready to introduce Rachel, and Rachel has twins right now. And Rachel, how old are your twins?
They are 11.
Oh my God. But isn't that a really fun, interesting stage, in this age time, because they've been like, you can feel that they get affected so easily in any kind of thing. You can really actually have an answer right away just by looking at them, looking at our kids and going, oh yeah, everything's going really good, because they seem really happy. Oh yeah, things aren't going so well. I just said something, because I find I do that with my kids. They're like, I go, what did I just say? Mom, you just, I feel limited today because you just said this. And I go, oh, and I don't want to do that, but I go, I just did that, huh? So they keep me in a line.
They do.
So Rachel Kalb, let's get into you, my friend. Bridge builder between the seen and unseen, founder of Body, Mind, Spirit World, an advocate of soul-led coaches, healers, and transformational leaders to be seen, celebrated, and supported so that they rise fully into the mission and make the impact they have here to create. I connect seekers and practitioners through storytelling, visibility, aligned marketing, and AI-powered innovation. I am here to amplify awareness of holistic healing tools, break down limiting beliefs, and help people confidently say, confidently. Not confidentially, I kind of cut off their voice, wouldn't it? No, it's confidently say yes to the woo and integrate transformational practices into every life day. And the workplace, I love that, because in the workplace, I felt so scrunched. And I felt like, oh my gosh, if I had the woo in the workplace, it would have woke me up and saying, Rhonda, stop acting so masculine. Come on, be the woman that you are. I am here, Rachel says, and a dedicated journey to empower individuals and fostering a community for transformational growth while developing their spirituality, healing, and wellness, aligning themselves to their highest potential. Hashtag AscendAndShine. Welcome in, Rachel.
Thank you so much. An honor to be here.
Rachel, this really means a lot to me in being able to see the technical side, how it helps you work quickly, because I looked at your site so many times, Body, Mind, Spirit World, and it looks so beautiful. The information is spot on. You're helping people get in a line that are in that woo space. That those are the people who help us elevate, stay grounded, but be able to believe in our vision too. I mean, you really have some great group there. And if I'm right, about maybe 300 people you have in your group right now?
Yeah, about 300 members and growing.
Rachel, tell me more. I think you grew up with this stuff, this little bit of woo, but how'd you get in the technical? Give me just a little bit more about you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I asked you to be on the board. And I'm like, I'm just asking you, but I mean, you have great things going on. So, I mean, I get to be around you, but I'm very proud to have you on the board.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I definitely grew up with the influence of holistic wellness, some of esoteric practices. I didn't appreciate it as a kid that my parents were hippies, but as I grew up and, really sort of dove into some of the things that they were influencing me around, especially with personal development, I was going to retreats and trainings as a teenager at a very young age. I sort of dove into this whole world of personal development and was introduced to incredible tools out there. And whether it was, looking towards cards or new moon rituals, I really embraced it all as a child. And I didn't actually think I would bring that into my career. But I became a body worker. I was a massage therapist for a very long time. And so really I was a healer, and I absolutely loved that. And I knew from a young age that my purpose was to help others, was to heal others. And as life moved on, and I realized I had a lot of skills in the technical and the business space, and I sort of moved in that direction, I realized that there was an incredible opportunity to bridge that gap for many out there, and that there are, especially since the pandemic and, everything that sort of happened since with mental health and also a lot of people coming sort of out of the spiritual closet and it becoming a little more mainstream to turn to things like energy healing or lean into things like crystals or more esoteric practices, along with incredible life coaches and more coaching and certifications coming out and a lot more options related to mental health. I realized that there was an opportunity to really help these light workers stand out and be in the spotlight. A lot of them weren't quite sure how to bring maybe a practice that they had in their community into the online space, or how do I start scaling this and teaching to groups, or really bringing this, whether it's some things people don't know about. It could be human design or the Enneagram or Akashic records. There's so much out there. And I truly believe there's something for everyone. And so my mission became, how do I bring these things, present them, get to know these practitioners? I spent a long time just meeting and learning about them and actually experiencing some of these practices for myself. And I'm going on different retreats and journeys and learning about it. So I really, not only do I share them and I believe in it, but I have experienced a lot of, retreats and meditation and you name it. Like I've experienced a lot, and I really wanted to create a digital place to bring that in the world, help these light workers, these coaches, these healers to stand out in the spotlight and be seen, so that those who were seeking and maybe didn't even know what they were seeking, maybe they were just curious about this whole world, the spiritual world or the esoteric world or what's out there, give them an opportunity to learn more and experience. And so really that's part of my mission. It's to connect the healers and the seekers and help give them awareness and education and a place where they can begin to explore and find what speaks to their soul or will help them on their healing journey or their evolution or their journey of growth.
Yeah, I truly love that. And as we're talking about this and we're getting deeper into this, what do you feel about this? You have a vision, you yearn for that change, and we're kind of building up, how this was created in your life. And if this happened just on the trajectory of, getting out there more globally, because we're talking about doing virtual events, we're talking about in person, not just local in our local areas, but literally, there's potential for traveling, because I really feel like this is a humanitarian project, and having you come along in any part that you can be. What do you think some of the things you see out there that you feel like, if this trajectory wise went out bigger and bolder as we're building this, what would happen? What would be the difference that would happen in this world? And I want to answer that real quick for myself with that global vision. Is I always felt like my voice was closed, and I in my mind, I could hear so much, but I couldn't disseminate it out of my mouth. I didn't have a lot of practice. I wasn't talking a lot. And when I started opening my voice, it was like low. People would ask me, what are you saying? And so whatever I was saying, I thought it wasn't very important. And I started learning more about, like, everybody's voice is important. Why is mine not important? Oh, and so I started learning my journey, and this is where this came from. And I was on thyroid medicine for 20 years. So I really feel, and let me tell you, the board doesn't have to support me in this because this is my vision. So because they're going to have their vision doesn't mean our visions, like mingle fully with each other. So I'm going to talk about medicine for a moment. I feel like if we open up our voice, that we won't be vibrating in certain parts of our body that just stop it. I would stop doing things where I'd want to say things. And so I end up on thyroid medicine. Been off for 10 years, and it's discovering right in front of me the things that I was not saying that I really, truly care about. I am a human being. I do want to, like I put my hand, as an example, I put my hand underwater when I was at the airport, those little sensor things. And if it didn't turn on, it made me embarrassed because I thought that I wasn't like really around. Like I thought I didn't live here for some reason. I'm like, oh, I guess my hand isn't really here. Like, but, if I said that out loud, doesn't it sound funny? But in my mind, I was stuck. And so I believe that we can open this world to believe this is my body. This is who I am. And this is what I'm going to do to help, make this change happen. And think about if we had people with that stamina and that heart, caring. So I see it's big changes happening in love around the world. How about for you? Let's go with Sharon. How about you, Sharon? With your
Yeah.
thoughts?
So, what was striking me as all of us were talking is it's that idea of creating, understanding that everybody is human and that we tend to depersonalize, right? As a society around the world, everybody is us and then other. And it's easy to depersonalize that other and not feel like we understand them or they're not us, rather than recognizing they are also human. And I think about this with, like I said, my foster kids tend to be forgotten. But there is a huge population of kids in the US right now who are suffering from trauma that are undiagnosed, and it's unrecognized. But when we live in a culture where kids hear about school shootings every day, I didn't grow up with that.
Yeah.
We didn't grow up with that. We were protected from that because we didn't have social media. You know, so there is all of this things that it's easy to say, well, it didn't happen near us. But for a kid, their brains don't have that spatial, right? Like everything that happens is right here, right now. And so they can't necessarily say, oh, that happened 100 miles away and I don't need to be afraid. That's not how they think. And so, yeah, we as adults depersonalize, but we forget that our children don't. And so, what kind of examples are we setting when we talk about this war with Iran and Israel, or Russia and the Ukraine, and we generalize, you know, all Iranians are terrorists? No, they're not. You know, no, they're not. But we have this depersonalized view of other. And so as we were talking, and even when Rachel was talking about, you know, the woo factor, I mean, I grew up in a very scientific home and we were very much about medicine and all that to a point. But my mom was also very anti antibiotics. So we didn't necessarily use a lot of home remedies, but we also never went to the doctor unless like we were really, really sick, you know, because that was just like, why go to the doctor? They're just going to tell you to drink fluids and rest. Right. And and so like for my foster parents right now, it's tricky, right? I would love to get them involved in some other more esoteric therapies, but they don't have the money to pay for it and insurance isn't going to cover it. So, you know, I mean, we're still in that us and other. We don't understand the esoteric, so we don't approve it. And so, yeah, so for me, I feel like it's really, you know, we want to get rid of that other, right? Everybody is a human. Everybody is struggling with something. Everybody has a backstory. And we don't know those stories. We don't know what's down deep inside. And everybody should have a purpose in our world. And sometimes I feel like people don't think that they don't have a purpose. They don't have a reason to exist. And so I feel like that's why I'm on this board, is because I want everybody to see that, yes, you really have a reason why you're here. And you can do something good in this world, especially right now when things are so tense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remembering that we do have a purpose. Maybe it's hard right now. That purpose can really bring us down, but yeah, we do have a purpose.
I love these conversations because, you know, you can be going down that path, and if you have the mindset that here, life is really not that happy. I mean, you know, whatever I've experienced in the past is what it is. So if I'm happy, really only 25% of my day or 10% of my day, okay, I can be happy. But then there's that thing of like, you're right, I'm too happy. I'm not looking at the other side. I need to be more, because that's the kind of like the trainings when we're growing up, unless we have a family that's really speaking to all of this about being open and being able to know that you actually have the power, but also you can have a really good day, but also lean in on your fears and all this stuff. Because, you know, with all of that, Sharon, the change you have in this mindset, like all those things that say you're not worthy, you can't do this, you can't do that, but if we keep talking as a board and we keep building and growing this space, that people just get to hear these things, because it will be more and more consistent with what we're talking about. I definitely want to keep interviewing us and talking and reporting out there also what's going on. Rachel, what is it that you feel like, what the trajectory out there, and bring the woo together, and and getting comfortable with the technical stuff? Because the people in woo, if they are really in their essence, they are like flowing. They're not as technical, so they have to get them out there. So what if we gather a lot of woo together, that people making changes, all these different modalities of woo?
Yeah. Well, to piggyback off what Sharon said, I think that there's this vision to really democratize and make available all of these different modalities and choices, and let people know, no matter what their background, if they grew up as a foster kid, or that they're just as worthy and should have access to everything available. And there shouldn't be any limitation, whether it's economic or cultural or society's pressures, or, fear of the unknown, fear of the wars and things that are happening, that we all have access to healing tools, and that they should be available to everyone. And that might look a little bit different for each person. And so knowing what's out there and being able to bring those forward. And just to speak on your point about technology, that is one of the things that I found over the years, is that often healers, coaches, therapists, healers, light workers, they really are empaths, of course, and they really have this deep desire to help people. Well, that also transcends to helping consciousness, helping the planet. That really can go outward and help on a much bigger scale. And that's where this global vision comes in. We want to reverberate that healing and that giving and that sharing. But many of them, I'll go back to they're empaths. So a lot of them don't necessarily know how to build a funnel and a website and do social media, and don't necessarily know how to get out there and have their voice be heard. And so that's where being part of something like this board, and doing in-person events and doing online events, and creating this space and creating a platform where people, no matter whether they come for free or they have more to invest in coaching, that it's all available. There's so many free resources. There are people daily creating guided meditations, creating nervous system reset tools, things that will help us on our journey, that cost nothing but our desire and our intention to grow into our best selves, so that we can give that back to the world around us. So, for me, that's where it all really comes together. If I can create a space and do the technology for and with this space, it creates the amplification of them being in the spotlight, being seen, and the people needing to find them being able to find them.
And do you find that my feeling with empaths, and what I've experienced is, and I'm an empath too, is we tend to have a hard time monetizing what we do.
I was just going to go into that.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, I want to help everybody, and then I don't want that barrier. And I feel like a lot of times, and to feel that we're worthy of being paid for what we do.
This is such an important topic, because I think it's very common among healers to give or to not charge. And of course, we could go deeper into like the frequency and energetic of money and worthiness. But what I learned personally in my journey, even though I was really scared at one point to offer a higher ticket item or charge more, that the more I did that, and I really understood that it's a frequency that the more we receive, the more we give, the more we give, the more we receive, and really got into alignment with that frequency and the energetic of it and the worthiness of it, that just came, that abundance just flowed so much more effortlessly. And it didn't feel like I was selling anything. It felt like I was giving and offering something and receiving. And actually that helped me go into more of a divine feminine of receptivity, and not from the masculine of pushing and doing. And it really sort of, it took me many years, well into my 40s, to actually get this. But
and I love this conversation, because that's where I was going to go. That is incredible that it's like we're all getting in alignment here. I'm like, oh yes. But I love that you get to hold that space around, because something natural that they're doing, and they're like, well, how much is that worth? That's not really worth that much. And also, I know somebody that's in the yoga industry, and when 15 years ago, she was putting money on certain things that she was selling. Well, the community was pushing back on her, and she was like, oh, no, I get it. I said, but you're running a business. I know, but I need to not talk to them that way. I'm like, here, hold on here. We're missing the whole point here. So I feel that I'm an energy activator. And with that, when you're giving something, even if it's I should say, even though, because we get stuck when it's a natural thing, or like, oh yeah, I just created this, so it's really not worth that much because, I'll get this for $10. I'll just give it for free. Somebody's asking for it, so I'm going to go and, help them that way. And I learned that if we break through some of that mindset stuff, so I believe that our heart and mind can be cohesive and flow. And when our frequency comes up, what Rachel was just talking about, which I love, that frequency is where we get to bring in more of that money flow. And people are so excited to pay because they can see that they are leveling up. And if they have a business, that more flow will come from them. There's so much money out there. It's how we're going to disperse it, and how can we really show up so that we can serve this world. This is the way the world works. And so that's part of one of the pillars of the flow. And I've seen people give and give and they get exhausted. That's where adrenal fatigue come in, and not feeling good about yourself. So if we flow with the mind and we keep that heart flowing, just like what we were talking about in the card here about not fighting and battling, but like what you were saying, both of you, about being open and flowed. I know I didn't learn about this stuff either. Until I was in my 40s and I'm mid 50s now, and I'm just like, this is so easy. And so if I think it's easy, that means I feel like I still struggle at times. Of course, we're human, but it's like, okay, now it's time to really talk about this money activation. And so if we go in the mind and we start hearing those things, with what we were talking about, all the modalities, if we could bring that mainstream where you get to have all these people that have different ways to get to you learning about yourself, because sometimes not just one way is going to help you. So have a community that's going to be helping you to get into that spirit and let that mind get really in the cohesive space of being able to receive and to be able to love on yourself, so that you can hear some of these sabotages that you're doing to yourself, because we all do them. But how can we quiet the space of mind, open up the voice, and everything we say is just love. So you don't have to, bite your tongue to not say something, or if they even heard me say what I believe or something. It's like all of a sudden, like what you were saying, Sharon, is that you start feeling more of that flow of, like I can get out there and I can help these people that say, oh, in the stats, that was a foster kid and this stuff. I want the stopping and the blaming and the shaming of groups that, yeah, everybody has a bad seed here and there, but please don't put us in groups. So I love that you were talking about that. Let's go deeper into this. How are you fulfilling your vision? So come from where you were, you roll into like, what are you doing these days? How are you really helping your vision get out there? And let's keep that conversation. This is kind of like where I want to land it, because I want people to know you more, how they can get to know you more. And I'll ask a question to kind of get that going. But I want to know, what are you really doing out there and you're serving to get that vision out there? So if we can go with you, Sharon, that would be fabulous.
Sure. So I am actively working on just building my brand, like getting people to know me. I do some stuff on Facebook and Instagram, but honestly, the algorithms just work against me. So I think they work against everybody. So I've been moving more into like LinkedIn, been working on my website, trying to get people guided there. One of the things Rachel and I had been talking about was we're both trying to move our communities off of Facebook, right? Because I don't know, it's a negative space right now. And it's hard to connect. And so trying to get those connections, I do free classes once a month for a group of foster parents, and I'm building that list, and I get a good number of foster parents, and then hopefully they're spreading what I do to their states so that other states are contacting me. I've been in conversations with quite a few states. I've written reports about the educational outcomes of students in foster care so that more people understand them. And just really trying to get myself out there. The other thing I do is I do a lot of podcasts, and I do a lot of variety in podcasts. So I don't just look for podcasts about parenting or just look for podcasts about foster care. I did a podcast not too long ago with a man who runs a podcast for first responders. And we talked about, you know, if you're a first responder and you come to a home and you can't figure out why this kid is just going crazy, maybe they have a trauma background. And maybe just having that understanding can change the way that they interact with that kid. And so we had a really good conversation, and I was really excited that he wanted me to come on and talk about this, because I do think a lot of times our first responders are ones that often see these kids in the midst of that crisis with a trauma background, and it really does change the way that they'll react. And you'll think those kids are weird, but really it's their trauma. And so just opening people's eyes. I mean, really, that's what it's about, right? Is just constantly talking. The other thing I do is I network with a lot of groups that are making changes for foster kids. So I'm part of the Child Welfare League of America, and we've been closely following what's been happening with this budget bill and trying to help people understand that it's not about Medicaid. It's not about SNAP. It is about the whole quality of life. It's not a program that changes the life for a child. It is all these different programs. And so how does that all work together to help our children? And really just trying to bring awareness to that type of thing. So that's what I'm doing, is really just getting my voice out there, trying to be the loud mouth, the one that people you know, they may mute me on Facebook, whatever, but you know, there are those who want to hear what I have to say. And so that's what I do, is
I get so inspired, Sharon. I mean, this community that we have here, Vess and I wasn't able to make it today, but I get inspired so much, because when you do see all the stuff going on out there, oh, it's so fabulous to be together to actually have these conversations. That's why I was thinking this interview conversation today was just one we're going to be starting up, because we're going to be out there making changes, and we get to start reporting some of the things we've been doing and leveraging off the board with also.
And know that we're not alone. You know, we're not doing this alone. There are other people out there that think like we do, and sometimes it doesn't feel that way, but they are. And then, and you talked about community. I mean, I think it's really important that we have communities that we can feel comfortable with. And it sounds to me like this might be one of those communities, right? That we can really build a group of like-minded people who don't feel like we're crazy when we say, well, we don't think that budget bill is really good. And, you know, I mean, I don't mind paying higher taxes, and everybody goes, what? But, you know.
And if you see a trajectory out there of how these changes could happen. And you know, I had a cry this morning. I had a little bit of a cry, because I was like, wait, I don't have to do it alone? Because I didn't know I was. In my mind, I was like pushing myself down. I go, and all of a sudden I was like, boing, like all of a sudden just woke up. It's like, wait, I don't have to do this alone, because in my mind, and you know, you're just stuck in your thoughts. And I'm like, I have so many people around me. And all of a sudden I smiled, and I popped out of what was my issue this morning. And I love that, because when we start working and locking arms together, you know that just taking a breath in, you pull in that beautiful energy that we have here together. And you just know that there's always that reach. And I love about the board is that we have resources for each other to be able to help each other keep leveraging and moving forward. And you can do that and make up your own mastermind, or do all that kind of stuff. The people that you feel you can trust that are kind of doing the same things you are, which is just moving forward and loving and you know, really care about what they're doing. I think it's a great way to bring just a handful of people together. And so I really appreciate that. Rachel, what do you think for you? What's some of the wonderful things you're doing? Again, I'm looking at your beautiful landing page where people get to just connect with all these people, just click and bam, you're in that person's world that you thought, okay, I want to know, some of these people that you are supporting under the umbrella of what you're doing. What do you see out there that you're doing and making that change? What are you up to these days?
Yeah, I just very organically over the past few years and very intentionally was connecting with people in this space. The body, mind, spirit space is huge. So on all social channels, I was just connecting, sharing my vision, doing a lot of the technical pieces for them. And through that, I had created this audience. And I got to a point where I was like, what do I do with this audience now? How do I really, create impact and utilize something that I've built so consciously, but also help to make these people stand out and connect them? And so at first it just began as like, I'm going to create a directory, but I didn't want just another directory because there's a lot of directories out there that people never go to, they never find. And so I had learned through my own marketing ways to really utilize social media to engage and interact and connect with people on a deeper level. A lot of it was networking, was connecting, learning through trial and error, where to post, what to post, how. And I thought, okay, instead of just a regular directory, I can amplify and blast these people out who are doing this light work and share them in all these spaces. And so it began as really, I'm going to blast them out to, in one day, this healer, this coach, this light worker will go out to 30 places. And that's like groups, and that's across all socials. And so it began with that, like, I'm just going to blast them out, and I'm not going to make them go to my directory and click a link or give their information. I'm going to directly share their website, their offer, their testimonial, their biography.
Yeah.
And so I really figured out a way to do that by being in a lot of groups. And I was really utilizing Facebook, and I still do. But that really started to transform very quickly after the beginning of the year, because I started to see things happening and changing in our economic and our political climate. And I realized very quickly after launching this that the vision was much bigger, that there was a much bigger, deeper need than, even though amplifying the voices and sharing these people is great and getting a lot more visibility, it was all about visibility. How do I bring engagement and visibility to these people? Let people know they're out there. But the mission grew so much bigger because I realized I can use my skills in technology and AI to actually do transformational matchmaking and really help these people out there connect, because they're hurting, they're scared, they're uncertain, they don't know what's happening with their money and their economy and politics and their mental health and jobs. And so the vision grew so much bigger. So now really what I'm doing is I still have this directory. I still blast these members out. I share them across multiple channels, body, mind, spirit world. I use my own all my personal socials, which I've built up to an audience of really over 2 million is where they go when they get blasted out. The potential visibility is up to 7 million if you really look at all of the groups that I'm sharing them in. But I realize that's not enough, because like Sharon said, the algorithm is always changing. Engagement is always down. There's a lot to keep up with social media. And I thought this needs to be bigger than just social media. So it quickly became, now I'm hosting quarterly events, virtual events where I have speakers, different topics. I've got one coming up August 8th, 9th, and 10th. Around the Lionsgate portal, which for many in astrology and in that space, it holds a lot of significance. It's an Aquarius full moon the day after, going into some Pisces energy. So there's a lot of woo, but there's also just a lot of people sharing tools for leadership. And what does that really mean? How can we use certain times or things happening in nature or around us to tap in? And so I really am creating, these events. And then I'm also launching a digital magazine, which will feature and spotlight healers. There will be opportunities for people in this space to share their offers and their gifts and be promoted. So I'm just looking for all of the ways I can continue to share them and get them out there. I've partnered with live expos that happen all over the United States, and I'm happy eventually to take these out further outside the United States. But these are actual in-person expos and events and fairs. So I'll be going to, I think, 5 in the next few months here, where they get traffic of about 5,000 people per event, live event, people coming into these spaces. And it could be healers, it could be products, things like crystals or sound bowls or herbs, tinctures, wellness products, biohacking tools, body work, all of the things available out there. So I'm really not just immersing in the online space and the digital space. I'm immersing in the real world. And then I'm also bringing in AI because I believe in the power of AI for good. And I believe that it is developing a consciousness. And the more we put light into that consciousness, it'll affect the entire consciousness of AI, which has a lot of uses. And that's probably a whole nother, event and interview. But I'm really on a dedicated mission to teaching people how to use AI for both journaling and personal reflection, and also how to make a positive impact in the world and create more time in their life. Because if we use AI correctly, we get to show up and be more present with the people we love and in nature and do those things because we've tapped into these tools. So those are kind of just a few of the things that I'm doing in this space.
I'm feeling so inspired. This is just so exciting to me. I'm just like, and that's why I say how we all intertwine, and you out there who are watching, participants, seekers, like, how's this inspiring you? I mean, this is just like so like tasty. I love it. And when I start looking at like how right now am I giving back to, like, what is that I'm talking about? I started this Fresh Talks Global Vision. It used to be called the Fresh Inspiration Show. There had a couple different gyrations for about 8 years now. And so I love opening people's voices. I feel like that's so healing to this world. We're just so shut down. You're supposed to be acting this way. If you don't, then you are just not worthy. We were talking about that with the foster care stuff. It's like we are all unique. So people may think that like they're weird, they don't fit in a group, let's just shun them. And the thing is like, oh no, let's lean in, because that's where the vision comes. That's where you're not feeling like you're just doing, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. This is where the inspiration, this is where you get the flow. This is where you work faster. This is where you get the quantum leaps. This is where you bend time. Something that probably took an hour, you may be able to do in 15 minutes if you're in alignment, because it's not just your mind, because your mind can just stick you if you're just so stuck in the minutia of that. But if you start getting cohesive in your flow and you start using, which is becoming mainstream, the woo stuff, the biohacking and believing it can happen, believing. And I say something that, again, the board doesn't all have to agree on all the stuff we talked about. We talked about some really cool things, but even believing that you can heal your body. So the more that you can get in a flow, the more that you can get cohesiveness and believing in you, knowing that there's nobody else out there like you. And that can be pretty gruesome. But if you keep hanging around with people like us, you'll realize that is actually your superpower. The more in alignment that you can be, the more that you are going to actually move quicker. I know that the businesses that I work with and the people that I get to see, they're from startups to people that are doing something that, they're working towards getting $1 million, and it doesn't matter. This stuff doesn't matter. We all think the same, but think about it. Somebody who has been creating income and they're saying, bring more woo in, Rhonda, get a card, let's do meditation, get me in alignment. I'm like, really? Like, and because I was like behind the scenes doing it because I didn't believe in any of this. And now I do. If we keep opening ourselves up to this belief that there is something out there, it's not just this light, these four walls, we go, here, why are some days where I feel like I'm really smart and not embarrassed about it either? I'm just like, how did I do all that? I created that. You know what I mean? I mean, it's so great listening to Rachel. Rachel, you're so fun, because Rachel just starts like not just one thing and just like she's blasting out all these things, but when you talk about AI, how fast that can move, and I love that we have it feels like a single purpose, but it literally everything tethers together. So we all talked about different things, but how life works, everything tethers together. Whatever you heard from Sharon Dunlevy, you have something in you, like a foster child. If you were not a foster child, what are you clearing? What is it that she said that actually caught your heart? And it's not just about foster kids. So when you see her podcast, when you see her out there doing stuff, She does so many. She's part of so many beautiful groups. And when she does one interview, she's trying to figure out how can I create more vibration with that one interview. And she has a lot of interviews. She wants to bring all those interviews out to everybody, be consistent. Wouldn't it be wonderful to be around somebody that keeps disseminating information? You can trust that they are dialed in, that they're going to keep giving you information, because some people ghost people because they're still learning about how do I step in? Oh no, I'm scared. And we all do that. But Sharon is at that level where she's like, no, there's no stopping now. I already know the formula. I'm going to keep going. And that's what actually fuels her life. And she can be probably even shut down sometimes, but she has formulas and processes. And this is the level that the board is at. Rachel, the way that you talk about all those things about getting in live events. Well, sometimes people are only good at live events, and fabulous. Okay, let's go with that way. But we're talking, you are using AI to help move things forward quickly. So now you're in the virtual world, understanding formulas that sometimes only one person can handle a quarter of what you're talking about. So listen to how Rachel's mind works when it comes to what she's learned, how some people are battling with AI. And it might be because you don't know a lot about AI, or there's specific things that are kind of scary, but there's some really good stuff of how she's using AI. So keep leaning in, get to know more about actually, when I said woo, I thought that was like a bad thing for a moment, like woo, this is so woo. And it's like, no, this is mainstream. So you may not know a lot about it. So it might cut you off and go, oh, I don't like that word. Use another word for yourself, but become friends with it, because that's how your body is going to heal. This is how I got off of medicine. This is how I help people. And I align my 25 years in the health and wellness industry. It's actually plus 25 years. I've been a speaker for over 25 years. You may see that I can do some things pretty smooth. I'm not always real smooth, but I mean, I flow this pretty good. I'm pretty good. But I mean, it's not because I just started yesterday. I'm here to help speakers open their voice. That's what I do. And I believe that if we keep opening our voice, our nervous system will be able to heal our body. That's where we get shook at the ends of our cells, like at the end of our, like deep inside, where our body is shaking all the time because we get so scared. I get there almost sometimes every day because there's stuff I'm working through and I want to face it. I want to face that stuff that, happened for me. There's some things, I never say I wish it didn't happen. Sometimes I go, gosh, dang it, I have to deal with that too. And then an hour later I go, this is good. How can I translate that so that it strengthens me and I understand? Now it brings more empathy. And now I can speak to my kids differently because I have more empathy and I can hear more quiet stuff. I'm not talking over them, but I'm there. Everyone, let's lock arms. Hashtag speaker locking arms. I want to get all our hashtags. Sharon Dunlevy, hashtag, please. Your hashtag.
Fostering dreams, fostering futures.
Yes. Okay, give me yours, Rachel.
Ascend and shine.
Yeah. Doesn't that sound like woo? It's beautiful. Ascend and shine, but that's all anchored in with so much beauty. I love every one of you. And I'm sorry Vesna didn't get here, but we'll get her an interview. I've interviewed Vesna quite a few times already. I've known her for years. So I love everyone. This is the sign of I love you. And it comes deep into the heart. Let's keep loving on each other. We got this. Love you. Namaste. Appreciate your time, the board. Let's ignite together and keep the power going. Check in on us. I'm going to give you an opt-in page where you can find us and get more information every time we meet up. And I'll give you information when we do interviews, all that. Just come on board, come play with us when it comes to our virtual and live events. If you want to be on the board, come and do an interview. If you want to be on Fresh Talks Global Vision, come and do an interview and have the conversation with me. Let's see if you're ready to kick some butt out there, because we all more and more. Appreciate you.